I'm Rob Port from SayAnythingBlog.com, North Dakota's most popular political blog. I'm here with North Dakota State Treasurer Kelly Schmidt, who has decided to run for a third term in office. Kelly, thanks for the time.
Thank you, Rob.
First of all, let me ask you the question. What made you decide? Obviously, you've been elected to your office twice in the past. You announced earlier this year that you were going to be seeking a third term in office. What made you decide that you wanted another term as North Dakota's treasurer?
Well, I guess the biggest reason was the biggest thought process for me was where can I best serve? And we're seeing so many changes in North Dakota, and when it came down to evaluating our family and that conversation and where can I best serve, and it really came down to staying in the treasurer's office. And it's not time to train in a new treasurer in North Dakota with the challenges that we have both in this office on many of the boards that I serve on. I just really feel this is a good fit for me.
Well, because your job is an interesting one. I don't think a lot of people realize it's not just the treasurer's office, but it's also a number of the boards that you serve on, acting as steward for a lot of money and a lot of the state's interests. So when you talk about challenges that your office, the state treasurer, is facing because of the oil boom, which has presented challenges, all across the state government. What specifically can you give us a few examples of some specific challenges that your office is facing?
Well, just the sheer volume of dollars that we're seeing. When I took office back in January 1 of 2005, we were managing 54 general fund CDs totaling about $750 million. Today, we're managing over 300 general fund CDs totaling $2.3 billion. We have seen with the influx of oil and gas and the distributions that those bring, and then the distributions of additional ways that the legislature has used our office to get dollars out to our counties and cities and school districts, we're seeing much larger responsibilities in that process. And with those responsibilities come challenges. We are still working very hard to accommodate all those issues, and I'm proud to say during that time, we have reduced our operating budget by 15%. We really try to do things smarter in this office by using technology and having those one-time technology expenses given to us by the legislature and using them to develop a system and to work and make things easier and do it smarter. We've been able to accomplish our goals, but the challenges continue, and we face them today, just trying to maintain and continue to balance the checkbook and to pay the bills and make sure it all gets done.
I like that, doing more with less. 15. We've got a state government that has grown hugely. We've got huge new challenges with the oil boom, and you're doing more with less in your office. I like the sound of that. Now, you serve on a lot of boards as well, the state investment boards and things like that. Give us a rundown, because I think that's an area that a lot of taxpayers don't realize that your office does. So give us a rundown of some of those duties.
Well, as treasurer, I serve on the state investment board, which manages the pension funds, the insurance trust, and different things. That's over a $5 billion fund today. And we've been working very diligently in the last year to make sure that we're up to speed with how the economy is changing and how the economy and its events have affected our pool of dollars. And so that's one of the boards. I serve on the University and School Lands Board, which, as many folks know, has had many challenges relating to leasing state properties in the oil and all the things that are going on there. I mean, I chuckle at one time that board was meeting quarterly, and now we're meeting monthly and sometimes twice a month. And the challenges that are coming with that board and with the whole land department have been something that have brought us all to another level. I serve on the Teachers Fund for Retirement Pension Board, which is working with the teacher's pension, and we're looking right now at possibly doing an experience study to see how the influx of oil and that revenue, adding schools, adding teachers to the state, and how that may affect the teacher's pension moving forward, and making those decisions as we do every 5 years. But with the influx of what's happening in North Dakota, we are evaluating whether we need to be a little bit more proactive rather than taking a more wait-and-see approach. So we're having those conversations. I sit on the State Historical Society board, and as many folks know, there's a huge project going on over there where they're building a new heritage center, and just watching the process and keeping an eye on the numbers as we continue to move through that process. So there's many things and many moving parts that are in addition to the duties of sitting in this office and working with my staff to accomplish the duties that we do. But as treasurer, there are many other responsibilities that come with that opportunity.
One criticism that has come, and it was a part of the last time you ran for re-election, and it sounds already like it's going to be another issue as well, is a veterans fund that there seems to be a lot of controversy about the management of that you're responsible for. Walk us through that in your response to some of that criticism.
Well, I'd be happy to do that. And first of all, I want to share with you how very much I am on paying attention to that fund. My grandfather, my father, my husband have served in our military. My brother is currently serving. He's been in the Navy for 30 years. And I have two sons wearing a uniform. Justin has been in the Navy now for 10 years, and Michael will be celebrating his first year anniversary coming up in the next couple of weeks. So it's something that's not only part of my duties, but very near and dear to my heart. There were some changes made this last year to the Veterans Post-War Trust Fund, and part of those changes were related to the law. When the Uniform Principal and Income Act was passed in our legislature, we had to make sure that we were implementing the fund based on the law of the Uniform Principal and Income Act. And there was a few shifts that need to be made because we found since the inception of that fund back in the late 1990s that it wasn't being administered correctly. And sometimes with change comes controversy. So we worked with the veterans groups, and most importantly, or not most importantly, but most currently with the Administrative Committee of Veterans Affairs to make sure that they understood why the changes were being made and what was the reason behind them. And we got the changes made. Some folks have still had some questions, and we continue to make sure those questions are answered. And the questions have been, in the past, the ACOVA had carte blanche of being able to spend the dollars that come out of that fund, and now that isn't the case. A portion of the proceeds that are earned from that fund go back into the fund so we can grow it, with the remainder of the proceeds or the income going to our veterans for their grants that the ACOVA administers. So we're building the fund, and we're making sure that our veterans get what they have deserved and what they need to provide for their quality of life. And now, this last legislative session, I worked with the legislature to have them include in the Veterans Affairs budget $210,000 that would be used for veterans grants in lieu of the income that comes from the Post-War Trust Fund. And the reason that that's so very important is now during this current biennium, the ACOVA can use those dollars to offer grants to our veterans, and we can allow the fund to earn the dollars that will be used next biennium. So at the end of this biennium, I will be able to share with the ACOVA, okay, the fund has income of X number of dollars, and that's what you have available to you in the 2013-15 biennium. So there's an opportunity for them to budget. And I think that's very important moving forward so that we have a steady opportunity for veterans and the county service officers to know what's available, and we're not just guessing moving forward. So there was a lot of changes, and I think sometimes with changes just comes misunderstanding and misinterpretations.
Fair enough. Let me ask you this question. Obviously, you're coming off 2 terms, running for a 3rd term. What I mean, if you could identify an issue or a problem that you would like to address and fix, and if you get elected to office, I mean, or maybe a better way to put it is rather than problem solving, is what's your agenda for a 3rd term in office? If North Dakotans put Kelly Schmidt into the treasurer's office for a 3rd term, what's your agenda? What are your plans? What sort of changes do you have in mind?
Well, first of all, I've always seen the Office of State Treasurer as an office that doesn't necessarily have an agenda, because our role is really to monitor legislation and to make sure that we do what the legislature requires us to do in the way of managing the funds and distributing those funds. We do it to the very best of our ability, and so if there's anything that is our agenda, it's to do it and to do it well. I think moving forward, we are going to have to address the challenges in our office. We've got so much going on that we're to the point now where people are limited in the time that they can take off, because we can't have more than one person gone, because we have a checks and balance process. I can't have one person making the deposit and the same person taking money out of a specific account. So you really need to make sure we always have those checks and balances in place so that we can protect the people's dollar. The other side that I see is a responsibility I take very seriously, is the transparency of what we do. I've always believed that the people's treasury is the people's business, and more do we see people wanting to understand where their dollars are going and how their tax dollars are being used. And I am looking now at updating our website. We are seeing more and more hits to our website to see where, my township got so much money. What are they doing with that money? Or my county received this much money in oil revenue. Well, I'm going to check with my county and see what they're doing with that. So I think the more information that we can provide so that our citizens can see where their dollars are going to work and question their local officials or their state officials. But I think it's important that we educate and we provide transparency to their working dollar.
Kelly, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, Rob. Have a great day.